Welcome to the next episode of Cemetery Strolls. Now this was filmed in March this year. This is when I sort of got caught in all sorts of weather. I've got a bit of hurricane weather here. So it's not just a short video, but let's take a walk. So we're going to visit the grave of Field Marshal Bernard Law Montgomery, 1st Viscount Montgomery of Alamein, KG, GCB, DSO, PCGL. Born on the 17th of November 1887 in Kennington in Surrey. He died on the 24th of March 1976, aged 88 at Alton, Hampshire.
Smoking. I didn't want to smoke, but I just thought I would. I was smoking a cigarette behind a bush or something. I was caught and taken into the house, and my father heard about this, and he took me into our little chat which we had in the house. And we knelt down, and he prayed to the Almighty that I might be forgiven this dreadful sin. And then with a little silence, and then I thought that the matter was settled. The Almighty had accepted my sorrow. Not at all. When we opened the door and went out, there was my mother. With a cane. She thought a more earthly correction was needed as well, and I got beaten. I took it. I think the point is really that when people say to me, what makes you tick? I think what makes me tick was that I absolutely refused to give in when I thought there was no need to. That was the sort of thing which I think molded my character. I'd like to think it did.
Montgomery first saw action in the First World War as a junior officer of the Royal Warwickshire Regiment. At Matterine, near the Belgian border of Ballery, he was shot through the right lung by a sniper during the First Battle of Ypres. On returning to the Western Front as a General Staff Officer, he took part in the Battle of Arras on April to May 1917. He also took part in the Battle of Passchendaele in late 1917 before finishing war as Chief of Staff of the 47th 2nd London Division. During the Western Desert Campaign of the Second World War, Montgomery commanded the British 8th Army from August 1942 through the Second Battle of Alamein and on to the final Allied victory in Tunisia in May 1943. He subsequently commanded the British 8th Army during the Allied invasion of Sicily and the Allied invasion of Italy, and was in command of all Allied ground forces during the Battle of Normandy, Operation Overlord, from D-Day on 6th of June 1944 until the 1st of September 1944. He then continued in command of the 21st Army Group for the rest of the Northwest European campaign, including a failed attempt to cross the Rhine during Operation Market Garden. When German armoured forces broke through the US lines in Belgium during the Battle of Bulge, Montgomery received command of his northern shoulder of the Bulge. This included a temporary command of the US 1st Army and the US 9th Army, which held up the German advance to the north of the Bulge, while the US 3rd Army, under Lieutenant General George Patton, relieved Bastogne from the south. Montgomery's 21st Army, including the US 9th Army and the 1st Allied Airborne Army, crossed the Rhine in Operation Plunder in March 1945, 2 weeks after the US 1st Army had crossed the Rhine in the Battle of the Rimag. By the end of the war, troops under Montgomery's command had taken part in the encirclement of the Ruhr Pocket, liberated the Netherlands and captured much of the northwest Germany. On the 4th of May 1945, Montgomery accepted the surrender of the German forces in northwestern Europe at Lundberg Heath, south of Hamburg, after the surrender of Berlin to the Russians on the 2nd of May. After the war, he became Commander-in-Chief of the British Army of the Rhine in Germany and then Chief of Imperial General Staff 1946 to 1948. And then from 1948 to 1951 he served as chairman of the Commander-in-Chief Committee of the Western Union. He then served as NATO's Deputy Supreme Allied Commander in Europe until he retired in 1958. Britain declared war on Germany on November 3rd, 1939, and the 3rd Division, together with its new General Officer Commanding, GOC, in the Second World War. What he was mostly known for was North Africa and Italy. In 1942, a new field commander was required in the Middle East, where Utkenlek was fulfilling both the role of Commander-in-Chief of the Middle East Command and Commander 8th Army. He had stabilised the Allied position at the First Battle of Alamein, but after a visit in August 1942, Prime Minister Winston Churchill replaced him as the Commander-in-Chief, with General Sir Harold Alexander and William Gott as commander of the 8th Army in the Western Desert. However, after Gott was killed flying back to Cairo, Churchill was persuaded by Brooke, who by his time was commander of Imperial General Staff, to appoint Montgomery, who had only just been nominated to replace Alexander, as commander of the British First Army of Operation Torch, invasion of French North Africa. The story, probably popular at the time, is that the appointment caused Montgomery to remark, after having an easy war, things have just got much more difficult. A colleague is supposed to have told him to cheer up, at which Montgomery at this point said, "I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about Rommel."
Well, I said, that is no good, they've got to know me. Because I knew the type of man, you see, we were now having to fight the wars of Britain. And I made myself known to the soldiers. I would talk to them, I would go and see them. Now, when we went, that went right away through in the 8th Army, and when we were at home, you see, and I had my British armies, Canadian Army, and the soldiers said, "Who is this guy, Montgomery? We've heard of some chap in the desert who wears a beret with two patches on it. Let's have a look at it." I knew this, so I decided, having formed the plan and got it working, got it going, I left it entirely to my staff, and I travelled England and Scotland, talking to the soldiers, and I would talk to 20,000 at one go.
The division saw little action compared to many other units and formations of the BEF, but owing to the strict training methods of Montgomery, who ensured that his division was thoroughly well trained, disciplined and rehearsed, the division always managed to be in the right place at the right time, especially so during the retreat into France. On the 27th of May, when the Belgian army on the left flank of the BEF began to disintegrate, the 3rd Division achieved something very difficult: the movement at night from the right to the left of another division and only 2,000 yards behind it. This was performed with great professionalism and occurred without any incidents, and thereby filled a very vulnerable gap in the BEF's defensive line. On the 29th and 30th of May, as the 3rd Division moved into Dunkirk bridgehead, Montgomery temporarily took over from Brooke, who received orders to return to the United Kingdom as GOC of the 2nd Corps for the final stage of the Dunkirk evacuation. Thank you muchly for joining me on this travel, and I hope you found it educational. So I say thank you very much, and I will see you on the next episode of Cemetery Strolls. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.